Hello everyone, we're back with more Pikmin 3. We're probably going to be doing days 2 and 3 today, although I'm not sure if I'll have time beyond that. So last time we just started the game, got our first Captain Elf, and why does it say 7 juice? Oh, because... Actually, no, that's weird. I don't know why it says 7 containers and then it goes down to 2, that's strange. I've never noticed that before. But in any case, we're just going to be starting day 2. Now, day 1 doesn't have a time limit because it's the first day and you're just getting used to how the game works and whatever. But from now on, every single day is going to have a time limit. At the end of that time limit, as we mentioned last time, any Pikmin that are left behind will get eaten. So you have to be careful about that. So yeah, today we're going to be going after Brittany. As I mentioned before, you can go back to the area you started at, but it's not recommended because there's not much to do. And of course the Cosmic Drive key, more plot points. So we're just going to go right into it and land in the new area, the Garden of Hope. I believe the Garden of Hope was an area in the past few games as well, but of course they're nothing alike in terms of their actual structure. Also today, we're going to be getting a new Pikmin type. So the one we have right now is Red Pikmin. I went over them yesterday. And now we're going to go over how to get Pikmin out of the onion. So you'll start the day with no Pikmin at all. And in order to pull them out, and in order to do basically all of your Pikmin management, you go underneath the onion, and you just press A. And you can manage your Pikmin here. So I have the 21 Pikmin that I started with. You can move them back and forth, pull out Pikmin that you need, put back ones that you don't need. And basically you start every day by just walking out to the onion and pulling out the Pikmin you need. So here's some data files. So remember the data file I collected last time? Some data files are physical objects that you need to collect, and some are just added as you played the game. So because none of you can really see the gamepad that often, I'm going to go over it right now. It's a touchscreen. The one on the left is the world map. There's one on data files. The new one is Pikmin info, which keeps track of how many Pikmin you have total, what their colors are, how many are on the field right now, how many you have in storage. I could have killed the butterfly, let's be more careful. That is the direct kill by landing on top of an enemy. So, yeah, and then on the far right, there's a camera feature. I never use the camera feature. All it lets you do is just take cute little pictures of you and your Pikmin. Very adorable. So we're going to have some Pikmin on that. We're going to have some Pikmin on that. And I believe there's a data file somewhere around here that I want to pick up before I forget about it. Ah, yes, there it is. So the reason why I got rid of all my Pikmin before going in the water is because every Pikmin type except for one drowns. And that is definitely not good. Ah, dang it. I was hoping that we could kill him because he left the water, but unfortunately not so. Like butterfly. Yes, butterfly. Even though the butterfly doesn't give me a lot, it's still useful to get as many Pikmin as possible on these first few days, because you really want to get up a good base of Pikmin to work with, especially red, because the thing with red is that I generally give the bosses to the lowest Pikmin type number, but the reds, which are your first one, generally don't get a boss corpse, so they're gonna be sort of like the slowest growing out of all of your Pikmin types in most situations. You can really divvy out bosses and enemies however you want, but it's probably a good idea to keep generally equal amounts of each Pikmin until you're basically done with the game and all you have left are certain fruits that require a specific Pikmin type. So at that point you can specialize however you want. So those tiles were an automated task, and what those are is if you throw a few Pikmin at them and they'll start working on it. And if you don't mess with them, they'll bring the tiles back to where they need to be, and then they'll just they'll keep coming back to the spot with the tiles. So you don't have to worry about them, and that's part of the big automation of this game. It's one of those tasks that are automated for you. So what I'm gonna right now we're gonna face a big Bulborb. Their eyes are its weakness, but if they're sleeping, just get behind it, lock on, and charge. It'll go down pretty instantly. So I'm just gonna take some Pikmin there. I'm gonna take that. Electricity. We can't deal with that yet. Our Pikmin will get shocked and won't be able to break that wall. I'm gonna set these Pikmin here. So back to the automated task. While Pikmin are moving back and forth, you can whistle them back. If they've already placed down a tile and are coming back, whistling them will just remove them from the rotation. But if they're bringing a tile to a bridge and you whistle them, they will drop the tile and it will immediately go back to the pile. So you want to try to call your Pikmin back after they've already finished their route. They also can't fight enemies while they're walking through their route, so you have to do the fighting for them. You need to clear a path for them. So something that I should mention is that on day 1, they encourage you to pluck your Pikmin immediately, which is generally what I do anyway, but something interesting about the Pikmin is that, see they have little leaves on their heads. Oh, well, we found Brittany. But, pick up, Brittany, pick up. Please still be alive. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about her. Captains can die in this game, but it's kind of rare. I think the only time where it comes close to happening is in the final boss if you're not careful. So anyway, Brittany's gonna talk about how she's a sound sleeper. Wow. Again, this is the whole I don't like Brittany at all thing. But anyway, she's gonna show us to our first piece of fruit. And we're gonna go through the process of collecting fruit and juicing them so that we have more days to work with. But anyway, see they have little leaves on their heads. That's not just a stylistic thing. Leaf Pikmin are the most basic Pikmin, and by far the weakest. They're slow, they don't do as much damage, and in general, they're not as useful. There are 2 ways to actually make them better. You can, when their sprouts land in the ground around the onion, if you don't pluck them immediately and you just wait, the little leaves on their head will turn into buds, and then eventually into flowers, and flower Pikmin are the strongest. So you can either get flower Pikmin by waiting to pluck Pikmin that are currently resting, or there's another way involving nectar, which we haven't gotten to yet. But anyway, we have a new Pikmin type, and a new enemy. This is a Medusa Slurker. It's not hard. It sends on this blob that absorbs Pikmin, but really you just throw Pikmin at it, and it dies pretty quickly. So we have a new Pikmin type, the Rock Pikmin. These are new to Pikmin 3, and are sort of a replacement for the purple Pikmin from Pikmin 2. Neither of the Pikmin types from Pikmin 2 show up, except for the extra games. But we do have sort of half replacements for them. Rock Pikmin are the hardest and can break crystal. They also do a lot of damage to enemies, but they don't latch on. So if you throw them at an enemy, most Pikmin, as you've seen before, will grab onto the enemy and just whack it until they're knocked off. Rock Pikmin, when they hit, will bounce right off. And so now we've unlocked the Rock Pikmin onion. And for this entire day, all of the Rock Pikmin corpses will be carried here. So if you want to make Rock Pikmin, you just have your Rock Pikmin pick up objects, and they'll bring them to the onion, bring them to the Rock Pikmin onion instead of the red Pikmin onion. So something I should note is that these 1 pellets produce one Pikmin if they're brought to the wrong color, and 2 Pikmin if they're brought to the right color. See that they have a different color? They're grayish instead of red. Oh, and it looks like our fruit has gotten back. So the SS Drake is going to call us and it's going to tell us that it found the strawberry and is now going to juice it for us. But of course, because this is Pikmin, they have to give it silly little names, because of course the characters don't know what a strawberry is, so they're just going to call it a sunseed berry. And I don't remember exactly how many days worth it'll give us. I think it's just 1. But we now have replaced the juice that we wasted on day 1. So, Pikmin, seed-bearing fruit, making cultivation possible. So the goal, there's 3 endings to this game, and they're based on how many fruit you get. One is you collect, and you win, you get off the planet by beating the final boss, but you don't get all the fruit. And in that ending, it's basically the neutral ending, and they'll just tell you, like, oh, we got a bunch of fruit, but, like, because we didn't get all the seeds from all the fruit, and because we don't know, like, they're not sure whether the Copaitians, like, know how to responsibly manage fruit and growing things, and there's, like, ambiguity on whether or not they, like, didn't just starve again. The good ending is you get all of the fruit, and they talk about, like, how since you got all of the fruit and, like, all of the seeds, Copai will now have a healthy, functioning ecosystem, right? And then the bad ending is just you fail to make it off, and whatever. So something you'll notice is that says 2 of 1, it's because you need 1 Pikmin to carry it, but 2 are currently carrying it, and that'll make it move faster. And everything can be overcarried. So even the Bulborb earlier, I don't remember exactly how many it takes to carry it just at a bare minimum, but I know that we had more than we needed. And that's always been a thing in Pikmin games. Also something that I should mention is, what if you have both red and rock Pikmin in a party, and you want to switch? If you press the C button on the nunchuck, you'll look in the bottom right corner. The big icon is the one that's active, and the little one is the Pikmin that you're not using. So I can switch from rock to red, and the little cursor will change color too. This is a crystal wall. You need to throw rock Pikmin at it to break it. I should mention that if you let rock Pikmin just jump on their own, they won't do nearly as much damage. You want to throw them. You don't want to just let them bump into it on their own. You want to whistle them back, then throw them again, and whistle them back. It's sort of annoying, to be honest, but I guess it makes sense. And that's talking about how rock Pikmin, if they land directly on enemies, do a lot more damage than normal. Data file. I'm sorry, Brittany, but the data file is more important. And that's going to talk about how you can throw captains, too, although not nearly as far or as high as you can with Pikmin. And we're just going to break Brittany out real quick. So, the different Pikmin types, of course, have different advantages in different situations. Rock Pikmin deal the most damage, red Pikmin deal more damage than other Pikmin types besides rock, and also have the fire resistance. There's a bunch more that have all different types of abilities and stuff. You'll notice that some of the rock Pikmin are actually bud Pikmin. See how they have their hair looks a little different? They have a little bud, a flower bud instead of a little leaf. That was from the rock thing itself. And now we're just going to throw Brittany over here, and we're just going to give her some Pikmin to work with. And then, to switch captains, you press minus. And it's going to talk about how if you have 2 squads active, it's a lot easier to manage things. So as you'll see, I sent 7 Pikmin to pick that up instead of the 5 that it needs. I think the limit is double the actual amount you need. Oh, crystals. These things will lob crystals at your poor Pikmin, and every Pikmin type except for rock can be crushed. And if they are crushed, they instantly die, which, as you can tell, is not something that you want to deal with. So, here's another question you might be asking. What if I have a corpse, and I send red Pikmin to help? How do I know who it'll go to? Whichever Pikmin you have more of doing a task, or picking up a pellet, will be the one that carries it. So, if you have more red Pikmin doing something, it'll go to the red Pikmin. If you have more rock Pikmin doing something, it'll go to the rock Pikmin. And it sort of gets annoying later when you have so many Pikmin types that you don't, and you sort of mismatch them so that you don't really know which one's doing what. that can get kind of frustrating to work with. Oops, I didn't mean to throw Elf. I'm sorry. You can also activate Pikmin by just walking into them instead of whistling, but it's sort of... you don't ever really need to do it. It's just kind of fun. Beta file. In any case, the reason why I didn't collect the strawberry, which you would have thought I would have done, right? And instead, I'm gonna wait for this bridge to be completed, because this bridge is a shortcut back to the onion. Or back to the Drake, sorry. And something you always want to do is have your Pikmin take the most optimal path possible. And in this case, the most optimal path is straight across here, but because that wasn't done yet, if I'd sent the Pikmin to work on the strawberry too early, what they would have done is just brought it all the way around. It would have taken much, much longer than it needed to. These are the Pikmin that brought back the strawberry earlier. And now that we have rock Pikmin, we can break this barrier, of course. Because I sent some of them to bring back corpses, I don't have as many as I would have liked, and this wall's going to take a little bit longer to break down, but that's fine. So... oh, the radar's going to pick up something, and it's going to show us the location of a signal. And they're going to believe that it's Captain Charlie. It's not. Spoilers. The game doesn't go that quickly, but those always show the location of bosses. And Go Here, finally we get to Go Here. Go Here is by far one of the most important things about this game. Go Here lets you separate your captains and have your captains do things while on the back burner while you yourself are doing something else. So I'm gonna throw out Charlie, Alf, switch to Alf, and then you click and drag the touchscreen, and a little pathway will show up. And there's a little cursor that you can't see, but it's blue. When it's on something that you can walk to, it'll be blue. When it's on something you can't walk to, it'll be pink. And if I'm just going to align it with the rock Pikmin onion, and I'm going to tap Go Here on the touchscreen. And Alf will automatically go to the Go Here location. And something that is, and that's amazing because it lets you move captains around without switching back and forth constantly. These are fiery blowhogs that shoot fire, so setting the red Pikmin out. This is your first example of elemental things and how certain Pikmin do better against certain enemies. If you'd send rock Pikmin against them, they'd catch on fire, and if you didn't save them in time, they'd die. But anyway, back to Go Here. Go Here is absolutely vital for later parts of this game. It's by far, like, really, it's the most important thing to get used to in this game that wasn't in the previous games. Because Go Here wasn't in the previous games. You had to micromanage Louie and Olimar independently, which got sort of tedious and probably wasn't the greatest, which is why they changed it out for this game. But in any case, we have got an armada of Pikmin. Oh dear god. So these are Wollywogs. These crush your Pikmin and kill them instantly. Rock Pikmin are immune, which is why you want to use them. They used to be a massive problem in the previous games, as I know. They used to kill entire hordes of Pikmin all at once, but now that you have rock Pikmin that are immune to crushing, they're not nearly as bad as they used to be. Oh god, they used to be so much worse. Oh no, the red Pikmin died. So, you better be careful around them. They can still do damage if you're not careful, but the rock Pikmin do make things a whole lot easier. Also something that I should mention is that if a Pikmin is... oh, they're gonna mention that it's getting late. But in any case, you can actually save Pikmin if they're being crushed or eaten. If you manage to kill the enemy before their dying animation finishes, you can actually save them. Also, it just showed a radius. Any Pikmin that you aren't in your party but are in that radius are still safe and won't get eaten at the end of the day. Any Pikmin that are outside of it and outside of your party, they will die. And it is very sad when they die, because it's a death that you can easily prevent. I'm just going to divvy up my Pikmin. Did they go to the reds though? I'll let it be. I'll have some red Pikmin start on this. I'll pick up, oh, right, skitter leaves. They look like regular leaves, they die in one hit. They aren't harmful at all. They're one-hit kill enemies that give you basically no Pikmin, but they can be annoying and they can get in your Pikmin's way. So you see in the top right corner, it'll show you how many Pikmin are currently not in your party or safe. And I believe on the touchscreen, oh, so here's something. Once you have 100 Pikmin on the field, the onion will basically have an error and stop working, and it won't produce Pikmin anymore. They'll just go to the inside of the onion. And something that I should mention is that those Pikmin that are being stored inside the onion, they can't become they can't become flower Pikmin through just waiting. Only Pikmin physically in the ground can become flower Pikmin through waiting. More data files. So, that's sort of stupid, but sort of makes sense. That was a file just showing that red Pikmin do slightly more damage than other types. So, on the touchscreen, it actually shows me physically where each Pikmin that I'm missing is and what color they are, which is very, very useful because Pikmin tend to get stuck, and it's kind of hard to figure out where Pikmin are when they're stuck. Because Pikmin don't always have the best intelligence. Also, you notice that I sent a bunch of stuff back to the rock Pikmin onion, right? So you'd think there'd be a bunch of, like, Pikmin sprouts scattered everywhere, but there's not. So why is that? That's because captains that are left behind in areas with unplucked Pikmin will pluck them automatically. Which is good if you want to just get them out of the ground fast, but it's bad if you want, them to wait until they're flowers. So I don't really mind starting with leaf Pikmin. Also, this is just how you put them back. So I really don't use the waiting thing. I will wait for these Pikmin, because we're going to come back tomorrow. See, one of them has already become a bud. But we're going to come back tomorrow, and these Pikmin in the ground won't be eaten overnight, because they're not physically out of the ground. And when we come back tomorrow, they're all going to be flowers, so I'll have a nice little, maybe 10 to 15 Pikmin that are already flowers, and that's pretty good. So that's the end of day 2. We're going to do another day, and then we're going to wrap it up here. So something else you'll see is that at the end of the day, we have 2 onions. And in the old games, they'd remain separate, which means that in order to pull Pikmin out, you'd have to bounce from onion to onion to onion, pulling them out one by one. In this game, however, the onions merge. So all of your Pikmin are located in one centralized source, which is, to be honest, really useful. It was one of the more annoying things from the past games, and they fixed it. You'll also notice that the onion is slightly larger. Every time a new onion is added to the mix, they'll grow in size. I thought that... Oh, right. I was wondering why we didn't have 2 strawberries and we only had 1, because we did collect 2 today, but it's because the first one was automatically squeezed, so it just doesn't show up on the screen. So this is the end of the day screen, shows you what fruit you collected, yada yada yada. So as you can see, we've already gotten quite a lot of juice, even for day 1. We've already brought it up from 2 to 5, so we have half a bottle left. Some of the fruit have really weird, like, bottle amounts. They end up amounting to whole numbers, but some of the fruits later are like 1/4 of a bottle, 1/3 of a bottle. And it can get very strange, especially when they start mixing the fruit. So you get these really weird juice combinations that really wouldn't taste good in real life, but hey, these guys will eat anything, whatever. Look, on this page you can see population growth. So you can see the red Pikmin population growth and the gray Pikmin or rock Pikmin population growth. It'll show you at the bottom how many died total, how many died because of the sunset, how many of each you have, so 66 red and 45 rock. And if you notice on the graph, there's a little dip in the red. That's when the 1 red Pikmin died to the yellow Wollywog. It also shows you, of course, when you met each new captain and each of the fruit. And then at the end, it shows you that you drank a bottle. So that's all for day 2, and here's Alf's journal entry. So he's going to talk about how the fruit is edible, and how there's a ton of it on the rest of the planet, and yes, there is a ton. There are a lot of fruit. And something that Pikmin does is you go back to an area 2 or 3 or 4 different times, each time with new Pikmin, and each time being able to find just a few more things. Like, for example, the starting area, you'd think it'd be pretty barren, because, you know, it's the starting area. No, it is just as fully fleshed out, large, and difficult to navigate as basically any of the other areas in this game. It's just that we don't have the correct Pikmin to navigate it yet. So they're just going to talk about how the fruit is really, really good and they need to find more. So we're just going to hop straight back into the Garden of Hope and just immediately try to find another fruit. I don't quite remember how long each day is. I think it's 13 minutes, so 2 should bring me up to 26, which is pretty perfect actually. Kirby's Return to Dreamland videos, as you've noticed, are generally shorter than the Pikmin ones. That's because my friends don't want to spend as much time playing in a row as I do. One of the issues we had with our first recording session is that we got bored of Kirby pretty quickly, especially with all of the errors we were having with having to redo the audio and visuals a couple of times. And even then they didn't come out great, but... So, just so you know, my personal videos with just me are going to be quite a bit longer than videos with my friends. So as you can see, we have a field of red flower Pikmin. So there are 20 reds, so that means I'm going to pull out enough so there's 50-50. And that'll bring us under 100, but that's fine. I want to... Today is all about getting to the first boss, and you can get to the first boss pretty easily, simply because all of the setup has already been done. Also something you'll notice is that these flowers, which used to be monocolored, are changing colors now. So you have to actually time your Pikmin in order to pick them up. Something very annoying about rock Pikmin is that because they bounce off of things that they destroy, they might not automatically go to pick up, which, I'll admit, isn't always the greatest, and is sort of annoying, but it's just a side effect of the rock Pikmin and how they work and stuff, so it's not a huge problem. And with that, we'll be up to exactly 100 Pikmin, and we can start the day for real. So what I want to do is go back through the glass wall that I broke earlier, because today we're going to go over our first instance of splitting up our captains across gaps that they couldn't otherwise fit. So there's a bunch of tiles on the other side for constructing the bridge, and he's going to talk about if he works together with Brittany, he can get it built. And what that basically means is you stand here, and you just throw everyone across. This is something that I wish was made better, and that's throwing multiple Pikmin quickly. You can throw them fairly fast, but I wish you could throw them faster, because it sort of takes a while and you have to button mash, and I'm not very great at button mashing. So we're just going to have to throw all of the Pikmin across, and Brittany. There's not much that Elf can do right now. I've sort of had him do everything that we need to do already. So we're just going to have the rock Pikmin break this one. We're going to have some rock Pikmin work on this one. And of course, because it's an automated task, they'll just return whenever they need to, whenever they're done. So we're just going to sit and wait in the middle here. And we're just going to call him back. Yeah, we're easily going to get to the first boss today. Whether or not we'll beat him is questionable, because depending on how the fight goes, it might take a while. But it should be fine. Also, the captains aren't very smart. You can whistle them to add their party to yours, but they'll take the quickest route, which is sometimes good and sometimes really, really bad. So yeah, that's the path to the first boss. because captains take the quickest route, sometimes they'll try to walk through walls or bring Pikmin through areas where they shouldn't go, which can be annoying. I'm not sure we fully need this many rock Pikmin, but we're gonna take them. I don't really play this game optimally, to be honest. I tend to bring even amounts of all of the Pikmin, which is useful if you have, like, if you're just starting an area and you want to be sure that you have enough Pikmin for everything, but can actually be bad if you're trying to do something specific, because sometimes things will just simply need more of one Pikmin type than another, and you'll have Pikmin types extra of a Pikmin type that you don't need, or too little of a Pikmin type that you do need. Especially once you've split up your team into 3 and you only have a third of your squad with you. Can be especially noticeable with, I think, yellow Pikmin, because sometimes you need like minimum 10 or minimum 20 to form a proper connection for some of the electricity puzzles later. But if you've split up your team, you might not have enough at all. So he's just going to talk about how it was a bad feeling, and we're just going to get straight into the first boss. This is the Armored Maw-Dad. It's a crystalline caterpillar, and I'm pretty sure you all already know how to beat it. Break its crystal with your rock Pikmin, and then just swarm it. So, its attacks are basically just to charge. It has multiple body pieces, each one with its own armor. If you get knocked over, you have to do this little thing to get back up. Oh my god, they're picking on everywhere. Come on, everyone. Back into the line. He does charges. If your Pikmin get caught and you don't manage to stun him, they will get eaten. But because he's the first boss, it takes a while for him to actually... It takes a while for him to actually eat them. You have plenty of time to get your Pikmin out of the way just by throwing rock Pikmin at him, doing enough damage that he's stunned. Also, notice there's data files everywhere. Those tell you how to beat him. To be honest, I find those kind of distracting, to just pick up a data file in the middle of the boss fight and have to work with that. It's sort of annoying, but I guess it makes sense. Now that we've got his tail down, I think what I'm going to do is I'm not actually going to try to throw more rock Pikmin at him. I'm just going to throw red Pikmin on his tail and just have them work on it back there. See, look at how quickly he goes down. Oopsies. Also, if you stay locked onto an enemy, you'll keep facing them, which is especially useful with the limited camera controls of the Wii remote. So now he's going to do a charge attack where he goes from the top and he'll come down, and you gotta run! You gotta run! Do damage quick! I'm not used to the camera controls, so I wasn't able to move away in time. That sucks. I only lost 4 Pikmin though, so it's generally okay. I think they were rock. That's not good, but look at the boss corpse anyway, so... Whoa! I don't like that! So he's just gonna come across the middle. Brittany got knocked away, but I'm fine with that. Whoa! Come on, come on, come on! I survived with a sliver of health. Something that happens a lot in Pikmin games. The boss is living with just the tiniest little bit of health left. Sometimes, even at the end of the day, they'll live with just the tiniest little bit. You have to come back the next day. Something good about boss fights is that if you lower their health but don't manage to kill them in one day, when you come back the next day, they'll have the same health you left off at. So you don't have to redo the entire boss fight from the very beginning if you don't manage to kill them in one day. And they're going to notice that this was creating the signal instead of the captain. You'll find 2 of these phones, and both will extend the range of the Drake. So you'll definitely want to... Well, you have to get them, but they'll lead you to new areas. So that's pretty cool. We're just going to collect our spoils. And it doesn't really matter who's carrying the phone or the fruit. but it does matter who's carrying the boss corpse, because that determines who actually gets it. Because the little number is gray instead of red, that indicates that the rock Pikmin are gonna get the corpse. Now I'll pick up both of the data files. There's one here that came out of a mushroom that was destroyed by accident. That just says the armored Monadad is soft on the inside. And there's one over here buried behind a bunch of mushrooms. That's just gonna say it has an armored shell. And you need rock Pikmin. So you'll notice that after today, our rock Pikmin population will absolutely skyrocket, and that's because boss corpses are worth 50-something odd Pikmin. Some are worth more than others, I know that for a fact. None are worth, like, too crazy amounts, but they are worth enough that you want to be careful about not giving it to Pikmin groups that already have enough. As I mentioned before, you'll probably want to give each boss to the new Pikmin type that you get in that area, which is one of the reasons why, again, red Pikmin don't always get as much love in terms of boss Pikmin corpses as they maybe should, but that's generally fine. You bring up their population gradually instead of all at once throughout the game, so it's generally fine. There's an area back here. I'm not sure if we have the right Pikmin for this. There is another fruit back here, but I think you need either yellow or winged Pikmin for it. The way you're supposed to do this puzzle... Oh yeah, this room is divided into two. One of them you can do with any Pikmin type, and one of them you need yellows. This is the one that can be done with any. These are scales. Little balances, and you need a certain amount... Whichever side has more Pikmin on it will be the one that goes to the floor, and the other side will go up. And so you use it basically as an elevator. And it's going to analyze our phone for us. But you want to use it as an elevator, and you want to have less than half of your current squad on one side, and more than half on the other, so that, of course, you move about half your squad up at a time. And in general, I like to do it just as one mass. You can do it as multiple steps of, like, put 2 Pikmin on one side, 1 on the other, 2 Pikmin on one on the other, but it just takes more time and is generally slow and boring and bad. I'd just recommend doing it in blocks. There's actually a cheese for the puzzle in the next room that's supposed to be done with yellow Pikmin, but can be done with flying Pikmin, which makes it 1,001 times easier. Because you just need a bit of camera manipulation and some of the new charge feature to completely skip the entire puzzle, which is sort of stupid, but sort of cool. All new corpses will go to the red Pikmin, because they are going to have the lowest population. I don't think there's really much we can do left anymore. Most of the areas require other Pikmin types, like the water and the electricity gates. The only thing that we can really do today is sort of get our numbers up by just killing random enemies, and just prepare for the next day. Now, in the pause screen, you can either retry your day or immediately end the day, and you can even go back to earlier days. But I don't really use retry day or go back to earlier days unless I did something incredibly stupid. And believe me, we will get to the point where I'll do something incredibly stupid. That's just a given. But for most of the time, unless you're like trying to do some like awesome speedrun, or you're practicing for a speedrun, there's really no reason to use end day or previous day unless you want to perfect a day, or if your day is just there's nothing left to do. And to be honest, I might just use the end day feature right now, because there really isn't anything left to do anymore. Of course, tomorrow we'll be able to go to a new region, and that'll give us not only more Pikmin types, but more things to do. But for now, I think we're just about done in this area. There's water enemies, but I can't kill them because they're in the water, and sending Pikmin in there would cause them to drown. So, yeah, there's not much left for this day. If I can't find more pellets or things to give my Pikmin, I might just call it quits early. I think I've been to almost every area. So I'm just gonna take a quick look on my map. I said take a quick look on my map. Rock Pikmin Cave. Yeah, that's just about it. Oops, I didn't mean to do a go here. That wasn't what I intended. But in any case, that's about it for the day. I could wait for the rock Pikmin to mature a bit, which I might do, but there's not really much else. And here's something. You can maneuver your Pikmin independently, so take some out, put some back in, right? But if you hold the Z button, it becomes a solid bar, and you can put in the same amount of each, or take out the same amount all at once, which is another one of those quality of life things that Pikmin 3 has over some of the other games. There are 2 Pikmin outside of the zone? Where are these 2 Pikmin? Show me where they are in my minimap. Pikmin tend to get stuck on things, or get lost, and leave the group. And then you have to worry about them. And they got stuck over here. Very good. So yeah, I'm just going to have the captains go here and pick them up. Something that I should mention is that go here, when using go here, your captains move slower than just walking. So here, I'll show you. Once we get a good view of our intrepid captains, this is the go here speed, and this is walking speed. As you can see, walking speed is much, much faster. So there's a reason why they want you to do things manually most of the time. Why were they just... what? Yeah, Pikmin aren't always the smartest. They were just walking into a wall for some reason. Great. That wasted enough time that we might actually have Blood Pikmin by now. But yeah. As you can see, Leaf Pikmin are abominably slow. And of course, certain Pikmin types are naturally faster than others, and also Leaf Pikmin are the slowest compared to Bud and Flower. So yeah. 1, 2. Where's the 4th Pikmin? It's clearly not in danger, because it would be telling me if it was. But I can't figure out where it actually is on the map. Oh, there we go. Oh, there were 2 stacked directly on top of each other. That's what it was. Alright, so with a couple new Bud Pikmin, they weren't going to turn into flowers anyway. And because we're not coming back, we would have had to wait for them to become flower Pikmin. And to be honest, 4 extra flower Pikmin isn't a huge difference. So we actually made it all the way to the 10-second countdown. So I might as well go through the whole thing and just show it to you. But yeah, 5, 4. And you'll notice that the countdown's slow enough that you can get a lot of stuff done. You can go around and pick up some Pikmin that you might have left behind. It's pretty generous. And if you've been paying attention, you shouldn't lose too many Pikmin anyway, unless something really terrible happens. So yeah, that's the end of day 2. This is the end of the day cutscene, plays at the end of all of them. You can of course press plus to skip it. And the liftoff scene. The liftoff scene, all it does is it shows you if you've left Pikmin behind, because they'll get eaten in that cutscene. There's a little flying cutscene, and now I'll go through some analysis of the fruit. The fire-breathing feast. I'm going to press plus to speed this up. But as you can see, boss fruit give you a lot of days worth. That was almost 3 on its own. That was 3 on its own, yeah. Technically 2.5, but it gave us 3 total, so. And as you can see, we already have plenty of juice. And it's only going to get more ridiculous. We'll eventually fill up all 3 layers that you see currently, and much, much more. But yeah, that's the end of day 2. We brought our rock Pikmin up. We brought the red Pikmin up by a tiny, tiny margin. And that's it for this episode, I think. So we're going to talk about the communication device and the boss. and how we can expand the communication range, which is weird that it isn't able to go that far in the first place, but whatever. Cool, I guess. I suppose their home planet is a lot smaller than this because they themselves are small, but actually that wouldn't make a lot of sense either, because if their home planet was smaller, the gravity would be less, but they seem perfectly fine with Earth gravity, so I don't know. But in any case, new region, Arctic Tundra. As you can see, this is where, oh, distant tundra, sorry. This is where Captain Charlie fell, and of course we're going to get Captain Charlie again. So, with that being said, it's the end of day 4. And that about does it for the episode. So, I hope to see all of you guys next time, and goodbye.